We're back on the Exit 52 podcast. It is Monday night, July 22nd, approaching the 7 p.m. hour here on the great East Coast. My name is Jake Louque, and I'm joined on my screen by Bill Gluckman, DWTBAH, and 2 out of 3 Arditti. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. No Orioles baseball tonight. Trade deadline coming in hot. Baseball trade deadline, while might not be the most climactic in result, I think is the by far most interesting in sports. So I love it. I think it's the culmination of the prospect freaks and the my team needs this freaks. And it's just like a perfect storm of trades and strategies. And we love trades and strategies. So I'm really excited for this week. Eric, how are you?
I am good. As I was telling you before, I was deathly ill last week. I think it was a summertime flu. So the All-Star break came at a perfect time for me personally. So I am fully I'm probably at about 85%, which is probably about as good as I'll get right now at my age. But yeah, I'm excited for the trade deadline. Again, the All-Star break, the home run derby, that's done. It's put in the past, and now we're kind of on to this next big thing. And the deadline is by far the best in sports, the baseball one. You had the 2014 one was incredible. Just the way teams go back and forth. And like you said, there's, the prospect freaks really kind of go to town on this day or on the deadline. But it's definitely an interesting day. It's going to be an interesting week. I would assume stuff starts kind of moving. You're already seeing the John Morosi's and those reporters kind of really drive these storylines. Morosi is carrying water for someone with the Tigers because he is just tweeting nonstop about the Orioles and their prospects and
the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean he's just doing it all. So it seems like he's the one that's really driving that story. So it'll be interesting to see again what we do in the next. I think it's a week from. Is it a week from today? No, a week from Wednesday. No, 2 weeks. I think
8 days left. August 1st. So I believe it should be next Tuesday. We can check the old calendar on that one. But
now, the 1st is a Thursday.
Okay. I don't know how that July 31 days, whatever.
we should probably know the
math. Who's mathing?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Orioles, it's crunch time. There was reports, I think, as well in that the White Sox have scouts. And I don't know. I mean, this could be the case there could be 10 other teams that have scouts at the Orioles AAA game ahead of the deadline, but the White Sox had scouts there. I mean, that might be a little bit more for, I don't want to say show, but for like an unnecessary not entertainment purpose, but theatrical. Oh, hey, we're here. We're ready. We mean business. We're dedicating resources to this stand by the White Sox. So maybe not. Maybe it is for real legit, but I imagine they have all the numbers, all the tape, all the information they need on guys like, Connor Norby, Basayo, who's not there, but all of those brothers. So I think that it's an interesting time. And man, I mean, a lot of rental pitchers could be available, a lot of fine guys. And I think the interesting part is that we're uncivilized, uncouth dummies. And I'll give Mike Elias all the credit in the world. We don't know what the hell they're going to do. I talked about it, I think, last recap we did. Savale on the Brewers, they basically stopped throwing his fastball and started throwing his sweeper 20% more. What are you going to do with the pitcher that you get? What is the plan? Do you think they're going to morph? How confident are you in that? You could take, the Orioles could trade for someone that has a 4.3 ERA and everyone's like, what the heck? And then they could end up being a stud. Or conversely, they could trade for Skubal and, he could come back down to reality a little bit more so. So that part, we don't know. And that's probably not entertaining to talk about, but that's what makes it so interesting to see the result of what the Orioles end up unfurling here. And I'm pumped. I'm really excited for this deadline. I mean, I would imagine very practically they end up getting 2 arms. I think they'll get a starter and a veteran bullpen arm. There was information about Kyle Stowers circulating today that the opinion of him is not that he's just some, end of bench guy, but he's a legit power hitter that can play some defense and deserves a shot. And he's definitely got to be gone. Norby's definitely got to be gone. Some of these guys are Rule 5 next year, and you might not have a spot for him. So the Orioles are kind of up against the wall here, and I don't know, teams might know that. I think that's what makes all this so interesting, particularly to the Baltimore Orioles here.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Stauer stuff I saw. And again, like you said, there's no real room for them anywhere. So again, the ideal thing would be to move those guys. And John Morosi again said, I think this was last night. He said the Reds swept by the Nats are indicating to teams that they're willing to move players on expiring contracts. The Orioles are among the team with interest in their pitching, including Frankie Montas and Nick Martinez. Frankie Montas is a guy that I would not touch. I do not want him. If you remember, the Yankees traded for him and then like immediately was shut down with like a major shoulder injury. That was, I think, last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember which one. But Nick Martinez, I mean, if you look at his numbers, they don't jump off the page at you. And like you said, like, he's like, his ERA is not where you want it. But if you look at his splits in between starter and reliever, as a starter, he was awful. As a reliever, he's been pretty damn lights out. That's a perfect guy who, again, you're not trading anyone probably in your top 15 for him. You can kind of steal him. I would think. I'm trying to look for his stats right now on the go, but again, that would be a guy. I forget his name. I think it's Doval or what's his name from the Giants. There's another guy that the Orioles have kind of been, poking around for the back end of the bullpen. That would be awesome. Our guy, Don. What's up, Don? Yeah, again, the Orioles are I think everyone right now is looking at the Orioles saying they're going to be the team that really makes a splash. And they have to. I mean, if they get a pitcher not above average. I mean, and I'll say this. I don't think Skubal is moving. I don't think he's getting traded unless the Orioles do a big two out of their big four prospects, which I don't think they're going to do. I tweeted it out. I said, I think the Tigers are kind of dangling him in front of people, being like, look what we have. Does anybody want to pony up?
And why would they not? I mean, why would you not do
100%.
your background on it? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, if someone is willing to really break their bank and mortgage their future for him, I think they would 100% be like, yeah, we'll do that. But I don't think it's going to be the Orioles. They're not going to do a Holiday, a Basallo, a Mayo, or a Kjerstad, or two. The rumor, I don't know where these really come from, but they're like, oh, they're going to need at least two of those guys. You would think that the Orioles wouldn't do that for a guy like Skubal. And Spenny, you talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Like they have to check all the boxes, and Mike Elias will make sure every box is checked. The thing with Skubal is the injury history. He's already had the major shoulder surgery, and I believe Tommy John as well. So he's not 100. I mean, again, he's had a great, 35, 36 starts or something like that, but the track record isn't that long. I want him, but I'm not willing to part with two of the big four plus a Norby or a Stowers and, a couple, Fabian or Beavers or someone like that else thrown in, just for, again, a guy who is not, I mean, the injury history is questionable. And Elias is not one of those guys who, doubt and mortgages the future for a guy like that who's not in perfect health. So it's going to be very interesting. The race to the deadline, again, I want them to do something sooner rather than later, so they're not in a bidding war with these teams. Again, everyone talks the Orioles, it's the Dodgers, but there's a game between the Orioles and the Dodgers when it comes to who they can trade. And again, the Orioles have guys who can play in the major leagues right now for you. They will play tomorrow if you get them tonight. So the Dodgers, I think they were saying, their prospects aren't that advanced. And while they may be in the future, right now, the Orioles obviously can offer the best that anyone out there can offer. So it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be interesting. And we saw our guy Pigtown talk about Andrew Abbott. I would love him too. I think he pitched against the Orioles when they were in Cincinnati this year. I think so. Crochet, I don't think the Orioles go for Crochet either. I would like it. I would like Crochet. Again, you could stick him in the bullpen the end of this year because he's already double his innings limit. He threw 12 innings, I think, last year. He threw like 54 in 2021. But I saw the name Eric Fetty thrown around. I want him. Anderson,
I want you to be mine again, baby.
That's a fantastic song. I want Anderson from the Angels, and their closer's name is it Estevez? I forget. I would love to try and get the guys.
There's no shortage of big.
You know who was there? Emilio Estevez. You know what I said? Emilio. My
Emilio.
Wi-Fi is really struggling here right now, and I'm trying not to inject myself too much, but I heard the Emilio, and I had to get the Night at the Roxbury reference in there. So
Love it.
Fantastic.
There's a lot of right-handed arms, right-handed power arms. We talked about Camilo Doval. Tanner Scott. Everybody wants to see Tanner Scott come back to Baltimore. Seemed like a super fun guy. I remember going to the Birdland Caravan, and he was really nice, and everybody seemed to love him one year. A lot of those arms and a lot of good points. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see. It reminds me a lot of Dylan Cease last year, where there wasn't, a massive reason for the White Sox to trade Cease because there's no rush. If things don't go according to plan, they can still trade him and still get a lot. You want to maximize your return, all that stuff. Cease has been on fire as of late, things like that. On top of that, the Tigers are in contention for a wild card spot as we stand. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're 5.5 games back, I believe, of a wild card spot, somewhere in that realm. I don't have the exact numbers. They're 49-50. The Royals are 54-50.
They're 6 games back of a wild card spot.
6 games back, which is enough to sell tickets. And they could acquire, the Tigers could even acquire a cheap reliever or go get a bat that has some name value to it and push a little and sell tickets. You don't know if they want to go that direction or not. We could debate if that's the right thing for them, yada, 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 yada. But like you said, there's not anyone out there that's checking every single box. But it's interesting because, again, it's like the movable object and the unstoppable force. You can't hold on to Norby. You can't. Holiday's going to play second. You don't have outfield spots. You've got Kauser and Kerstad and 5 other younger guys that are probably better defensively and have pop too, that are coming up through the ranks as well. So they kind of have to trade Norby, and Norby is a good prospect. He's MLB ready and under control. They have several guys like that are log jams. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. I mean, they could make 3-4 moves, or they could make one big move, but they have to do something, not only just because of their rotation, not only just because of internal factors this year, but because they're up against the clock on a guy like Norby. I mean, I think Mayo is Rule 5 eligible next year too, something like that. And of course, he's probably on the path and probably going to end up getting called up in the next month, 2 months, whatever. But they have too many. They have too many. So they've got to make moves, and it would be a waste not to, ultimately. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Elias, the Orioles, I've never seen the Orioles since the Andrew Miller trade be involved in so many articles and rumors and speculation, and Elias frankly saying yes, we have Rube support. Yes, we need to get dudes now. Moves are coming. So I'm excited to see what they are. And I mean, man, I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, but who's to say that the rotation they currently have in place, if you want to even call it a rotation, makes it through the end of the season? So you've got to make some moves, and people are going to get upset, and people always see things about Ortiz. Everybody's talking about Ortiz still.
Yeah,
things like that.
What was that? That's that dude who was everyone in Orioles Twitter blocked, the Eric Birdland guy. Or I couldn't see what he was saying because I've been blocked. But yeah, it's just that's, I don't know what he was trying to compare, but you make that trade 1 billion times out of 1 billion. Again, Corbin Burnes is leading the AL in ERA. They're not here without him. But and again, going back to what you said, they have to do it because, again, they're up against all this stuff. But look around the AL. The Orioles are the best team. If there's a year where you can make a run to the World Series, it's this year. Who's their top competition? The Astros are obviously catching fire as of late. The Guardians they've floundered the last 2 weeks too, and no one's talked about that. The Yankees are, again, doing this Yankee thing where they win 9-1.
Yankees have 3 above average hitters, and those 3 hitters are way, 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 way above average, but they are nothing that is scaring you.
No. And again, that's why it's if there is a year to do it, this is the year that you go out and you make a splash. And again, if there's a year to grab the AL by the balls, it's this year. Because, again, you don't know what the Yankees are going to do in the offseason. You don't know what any of these other teams are going to do. This is the time to do it. There is a path. There's a path. There is a clear path to the World Series for the Orioles. If they go out and they get, a rotation arm, if they go out and they get a bullpen arm, and then, again, if they add, I could see them adding a bat. I think they need another right-handed bat. I don't think Austin Hayes is that guy anymore. I think we've seen the best of him, and this is probably going to be his last year here. I think he plays out, and maybe that right-handed bat is Coby Mayo, and I'm sure he'll be up in the second half sometime soon. Jackson Holiday will be up. Mateo is just swinging a wet noodle ever since Sid bonked him in the head. So they're going to add those two guys, but there is a clear path for the Orioles to make a march to the World Series if they go out and they make these moves. So again, you have to think that Elias sees that, knows that, because guess what? Corbin Burnes is going to be pitching in another uniform next year. That's the facts. So this is the time to really, take advantage of that and exploit this farm system. And like you said, trade guys who don't have a path to play anywhere. The Norbies, the Stowers, all of those guys. You got to find a way for them to go and bring something back that helps you, play deep into October. So this is the year for them to do something. I truly, truly feel that.
I agree.
I can jump in. I'm just a little worried. Like, I'm riding the lightning here with the
we'll fill in if you pop out. We're good. But yeah, Mullins, there's articles now as well. Hayes, Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, a bunch of guys, could be helpful in some sort of swap. Things like that. Send them to another contender. That would not be out of the question. Mountcastle would probably be a very ridiculous move to make. You don't have a sure answer defensively. And he's in the middle of your lineup at this point. So that would be a little ridiculous. But Mullins is a very talented player. So there could be a team that needs a left-handed outfielder very, very badly. He's plus defensively. So I don't think moving Hayes or Mullins or doing some sort of 3-team type trades or like things of that nature are out of the question. Like the Mariners would probably love to have Cedric Mullins in their outfield. There's a ton of team Phillies. The Phillies are linked to Mullins as well. Apparently they're sniffing around. They're like, hey, what's going on?
They did that 2 years ago, I believe, too. There were rumors that the Phillies were kicking the tires on him 2 years ago as well. So take that for what it's worth. But yeah, and again, the Mariners with Julio Rodriguez going down, I don't know what the injury ended up being, but it didn't look good yesterday. But again, I do not want them to trade Ryan Mountcastle. I like him here, and like you said, I like his, even though he's not hitting as of now. I like his bat in the middle lineup, and
him and Tony are like Tony's obviously insane this year in a contract year, but they both can absolutely carry your offense when they're on.
Oh, 100%. They'll have those 3 weeks where they're scorching, but and it's weird because the defensive metrics hate Mountcastle, but by the eye test, everything that he does is awesome.
That's my metric, by the way. That's the only metric I need.
Oh, that's the only one I use.
These saber metrics. Let me tell you a little something about the eye test. All right. And it backs my guy Mountie 100%.
His catch on, what is it, yesterday? That was a great catch. Former shortstop, former third baseman, former corner outfielder. So
I asked him about we asked him about the pliability and the flexibility stuff, and he just shot it down. He's like, shit, yoga? I'm not doing any yoga. I'm like, all right.
Exactly. I think that was his exact quote too. Shit, yo.
He gave the Clay Davis. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, it's interesting. The Orioles have all the bullets to do something, and they seem like the team that
they have a ticking clock. Or a ticking clock, on
their clock is also ticking.
The talk is ticking on the several prospects. So Ramon Urias could be a very helpful player we have it. Alex Haney here. Wouldn't be surprised. Ramon Urias could be a very helpful player on a lot of teams that are in the mix in terms of contending for the playoffs or even contending for a World Series. He is a league average hitter and a solid, versatile defender. Right-handed bat. There very well could be a team that needs that. So not only just prospects, big league guys, reshuffling, and just freeing up log jams, man. They have 5 log jams. They even have a outfield log jam to a degree with Heston Kjerstad and Colton Cowser both being lefties that end up playing in left field a lot. Cowser is an incredibly rangy guy that could move somewhere else and play a lot more. So, it's a good problem to have. I always think of Ryan O'Hearn being the definition of a good log jam issue. Coby Mayo would be up probably at this point if it wasn't for Ryan O'Hearn. And Ryan O'Hearn is a very talented hitter, so it's a good problem to have. So a ton of unwinding, unraveling. It's like the Orioles have a really expensive fishing rod that got tangled with another really expensive fishing rod, and they just got to untangle all of it. They've got all the pieces in place. They just got to take the time, sort it out, and get it done. I think we see maybe not brand name moves, but major moves that have huge implications. Like you said, the Guardians, and I would say the Guardians are probably the Orioles' top of competition. Like you said, Eric, they haven't been great lately. They're a very balanced team. They could add someone too. They're not terrifying you. There's no team other than the Orioles. The Orioles are the big dog right now. They have the best lineup. They have an ace. They have a certified game one shover in Corbin Burnes. Grayson Rodriguez, obviously super talented. So, probably don't want to go to Dean Kramer again. Wouldn't be the end of the world, but probably want someone that has some more playoff experiences and a little bit more steady than Mean Dean. So a lot to unpack, not just with the Orioles, but league-wide. We've already started to see guys like Whit Merrifield pop around. Ty France, the Mariners got rid of. So some of the shedding has already started to make room for moves. And I'm excited to see what it yields in the next 8, 7, 10, 11, 9 days, whatever the calendar says.
Did you see Merrifield already got hurt today too?
No, I didn't.
Literally today was his first day, like in uniform. And they were like, he hit his finger on like a ground ball or something, had to leave like practice or whatever wherever he was working out. But he had to leave there to like go get looked at. And I think Alex is right. I don't think Whit Merrifield is not the answer for the Braves and Albies. I think he's out 8 weeks. He broke his wrist. And again, as soon as I saw that, my first thought was Ramon. You can, I don't know what you do to move him or, what you seek back from the Braves, who knows, but I think I did see they were like, you take away Ramon. Obviously he had that horrid start. Somebody was like, I think he's batting like 260 and I forget the rest of his slash line. But if you take away, and obviously you can't just do this, but if you take away his like first 3 weeks or first month or whatever like that, he's hitting like 260 since then. He has pop. Again, he can play second base. It's not his forte, but he can play a solid second base for you. And again, maybe him going to Atlanta or something like that is a nice spot for him. And again, it helps the Orioles out a hell of a lot more than it would help the Braves, I feel like, because that would then allow you to theoretically call up Coby Mayo. So also, I think Pigtown tweeted this too. And I meant to look this up. You see that Coby Mayo apparently has 1 home run against the lefty this year, which my first thought was he's probably not facing that many lefties down, because again, if you're a lefty and you have some decent stuff in AAA, you're in the big leagues. Like you're not just down there so I meant to look that up.
There's nothing my guy Hyder is going to love more than that. And people are going to have very level-headed, rational reactions to.
I will say I was on their side this week. And when he did the pinch hit Hayes for Kjerstad, and then Hayes immediately came in, struck out twice, once with the bases loaded, and then swung at the first pitch and popped it up. So.
I'm almost totally on their side. Like I like Hyde generally, but I mean, some of that stuff is infuriating. Like, it's trying to boil stuff down to a science sometimes. And I do wonder if the front office isn't kind of in his ear about that stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know. But again,
the data boys are ruining the game that we love.
The data soy boys and their laptops. Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to start, it's notification season. If you don't have notifications on for the big guys, Morosi.
Don't worry. I got my MLB app. That's all I need.
No, that app.
Crazy trade proposed between the Orioles. Click through the push notification to learn more and get 15 FanDuel ads.
My favorite.
I do also want to say though that I think that, and I really don't care that much about like defending someone in the situation. I really don't. The splits thing is not just Brandon Hyde. Like
that's what I'm saying.
It's coming from upstairs. Like
that's
it's not like, Brandon Hyde is the reason Kjerstad isn't.
I don't. Clearly, like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't think
all the way upstairs. Clearly, it's an organizational philosophy.
Yeah, maybe it's not a fair thing, but just looking at Brandon Hyde and listening to him talk, I don't know if he's like sitting in front of an Excel spreadsheet breaking down the sabermetrics like every single day. I'm sure he gets all that stuff delivered to him in a report. And I'm sure a lot of that work is done by someone, similar to a Peter Brand-esque character. Shout out to Jonah Hill and Moneyball. A little bit of a composite character of Paul DePodesta, still with the Cleveland Browns.
100%. And like yell at Hyde if you want, whatever. I don't care. But it's clearly they're doing it from Mike Elias down. It's that we're going to play splits. I
don't think the point. Yeah, I don't think the point is people necessarily shitting on just Brandon. I think they're just saying overall it's just stupid, and let's maybe like adjust our philosophy a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. I think in the playoffs you have to be more situational. It's not a giant sample size, so to trust the sample size in mass when you can lose and die, then it's a little bit different. But also, maybe don't just let the rookie player who hasn't been in the MLB like suck against lefties and lose their confidence. Also, that's another part of it to gauge. So it's all moving parts. I don't have the right answer, but do whatever you want to do. Fan how you want to fan.
By the way, did this kind of like flew under the radar? Mel gave like a sideline report on Kjerstad, I think Saturday.
Yeah.
And she said that he passed out after the
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
After he got hit in the head?
Yeah, no, he slipped that in there, and like I think
nobody's talking about it.
Was it Davey on the color? Like and they were like, yeah, and listen, it's all about safety now. So if things are gonna happen, like you got to make sure everything's okay. I'm like, I mean, like
they probably don't really want that getting pumped out that he got hit in the head by a baseball and passed out from it.
And he stayed in the game right after, and then he went into the clubhouse presumably and passed out there. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, because she talked about how, the adrenaline, he was fun because he took I was shocked that they gave him the concussion test, like on the field, like doing this. It's like he took 97 to the head. You pick him up and you take him into the dark room somewhere, you know. But when she said that, I was like, holy shit, like that's and then she said they did the test and all that stuff, and obviously he passed the concussion test, but then the adrenaline wears off and you kind of come to and she said he passed out in the clubhouse, or I don't think she said in the clubhouse, but she said he passed out, and it's like, oh my, that's terrifying. And obviously now you know why he was put on the concussion, the 7-day IL, but yeah, that was, so again, it wouldn't shock me that he does have some lingering effects. Obviously he was in the lineup the other day, I believe, but yeah, that was just something that kind of flew under the radar. And I was like, nobody's really talking about this, but like Mel reported it up during the game, and just crazy scene for Kjerstad. Obviously we're happy.
That was a very strange way for that to come out. Nothing against Mel at all or anything, but like, man, like I would have thought we would have heard that by now. I do kind of wonder if they were, the process and clearing that to go on air.
Well, I'm also sure that the All-Star break had a lot to do with it. Obviously there's no game afterwards, so they, it kind of died down, and obviously he was able to do whatever rehab or pass whatever tests he had to, and he was able to. But yeah, scary situation there for Heston and his noggin as he took 90.
As someone who's had at least 5 documented concussions, like you can have one and be completely fine. You can have another, and then you are like sitting inside for a while. This would happen to me. I would sit in school. I would walk outside, and when the sunlight got into my eyes, it was like someone was just hitting a nail inside of my temple. Ugh. And you couldn't see a thing, and the world starts spinning. So it stinks. It will probably impact. I would wager to say it will probably impact his physical ability to be an athlete for a while. I think it's hard not to. Sometimes you can get your bell rung and it's like it never happened. Usually it's kind of like, I don't feel so great for a while.
It impacts you. I mean, it impacts you from the plate. Like some guys get hit and they're just never the same, because it's literally like they don't want to be afraid necessarily, but it's just in the back of your mind. Like, and
your body is like, hey, this happened before and it was very bad. I am not interested in this anymore.
Look at Jorge. Literally look at Jorge. That's what he's going through. So yeah, that was just a crazy story that was talked about. But again, it kind of flew under the radar as the Orioles, again, all they did was take 2 out of 3 and win a series. So
he's a Southern boy. He'll be fine. He'll be a big, strong man. He'll Jake, you think he's dead inside anyway, so you can't kill what's already dead.
No,
right?
I'm not saying he's dead inside. I'm saying you're going to have to take that bat from his cold, dead hands. And his hands are
cold, dead hands, then he's dead inside.
His hands are warm and alive right now, but when his hands are cold and dead, you're going to have to pry the bat from there then.
That about does it. Rangers series, huh?
Sure.
Orioles.
2 out of 3. And listen, guess what? Doesn't everything just feel right now, guys? We're here talking about a series where the Orioles take the first 2 in commanding fashion, and then they lose the last one. What do we think about that?
Yeah, it's more of the same.
Groundhog Day, baby. Groundhog Day. Boy, oh boy. And Eric, you don't have to say who, but I know that you talked to someone who covers the Orioles that this sentiment that we discussed offline was extrapolated a little bit further, but it was like, everyone's like, boy, oh boy, did they need a break. And I know that you talked to somebody who was like, oh, they were dragging ass for like weeks. Like they were not feeling it. We went back and looked at it. And I know other people have done this. It's not a revelation, but they had 3 days, quote unquote, off from, I believe it was May 30th through the All-Star break, or up maybe like right before the All-Star break, they had another day off. And 2 of them were like, hey, they're traveling back home from the West Coast. And they had 1 game where it was between 2 home series. boys were not feeling so hot. And to watch them get the break, come back, and then slug and be locked in, athletic, having fun in the first 2 games was a real joy. And I mean, the Rangers are fighting for their lives. So game 3, is what it is. But game 1, awesome to watch them come out and not drag ass dead out of the break like we see other teams doing already.
4-hit game for Gunnar Henderson. That was really nice to see too. And we talked about you guys obviously talked about it on the live stream at Jimmy's and everything. Like things were looking a little kind of touch and go there going into that. And then it's like, obviously the age old question of the home run derby. Is that going to mess up your swing? Obviously it's a 1 series sample size and we're talking about 1 game within that series, but the swing looks pretty good for our guy Wooderson.
Well, he did have 4 singles. So I like jokingly tweeted out, I was like, did the home run derby ruin his swing?
Honestly, did it fix his swing though? Because he's not going for broke. He's trying to play small ball, doing the right thing as the leadoff man.
He was hacking going into the break. He was striking out a ton, more than any other point since like May and prior of last year. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, but again, it was also. I mean, they got out to 4-0 leads very early in the first 2 games after the break, and again, Cowser smoking that ball. Senior Potatoes on Friday night with his 2 bombs. Like that was awesome to see. And it's crazy that he's now 1 home run behind Gunnar. Like
and
all we did.
If you listen, I think it was Cowser who said that he's walking up to Gunnar and, letting him know that he's catching up to him in the home run, which you love to see that stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. But yeah, it's awesome that they were able to come out hot like that and beat up Eovaldi, beat up Scherzer. Scherzer had the weird start where I think he said his back or his arm, something just didn't feel right. And they kind of yanked him early. And then the fucking Andrew Heaney, man, the legend of Heaney, that guy may just get a statue in Texas just for what he's done to the Orioles. I mean, I think they said like he's given up 3 earned runs or less in like 13 of his last 14 starts. So it's not just the Orioles, but man, does he kill them every time now. They just couldn't do anything Sunday. But again, if you look at it Saturday and Sunday, again, the runners in scoring position, the numbers were not great. And that's a thing already again in the second half, but you can't complain if you won 2 out of 3, again, especially when you just come out slugging like you did, in game 1. I forget the score of game 2. What was that?
8-4, I believe.
8-4. Yeah. It was 8-2 going into the 8th. And I think they scored 2 or 8-1 or something. And, it almost ended up being a save situation. But, Westberg came through with a big home run there. So it was nice to see him kind of get back. It was almost like, you had to think he was tired, but, he's had a couple defensive plays lately and he wasn't showing much at the plate, but Adley with the towering home run on Friday night too. So
got all of that one, didn't he?
He really did. But it was nice to see again them get back and like I said, they needed that rest very, very bad. And somebody tweeted me and they go, well, 20-year-olds shouldn't be tired. I was like, what are you talking? Shut up.
Dude, I'm 28. I stayed up a little bit late last night, like reading a book. I went to sleep. I woke up. I looked at Excel sheets all day and I hosted a couple Zoom calls and I feel a little jebby right now doing this. I'm not traveling everywhere. I am not doing athletic pursuits. I'm not doing anything close to what these guys have to do. It is so taxing. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what experience you have in managing this shit. If you are on the schedule.
That's the other aspect. People are like, oh, he's so young. Your player's so young, but also you have to learn how to manage yourself and not run out of gas. And that's why I think Corbin Burnes is so impressive, who, by the way, who leads the AL, or excuse me, all of baseball, I think, in ERA right now.
I think it's Burnes and Louque.
2.38 ERA, best in baseball right now, I think by a fraction over Seth Lugo.
It's Clydesdale.
Absolute horse, man. Absolute horse. And if there was a player to extend, there's a player to back up the Briggs trucks for in the next 3 years, that is the man.
I know that there's Eric is totally on this block that he's all the way gone. I agree that he might hit the market. I mean, it sounds like that's what he's been saying the whole time. I mean, he's obviously been saying that the whole time, and with Boris in the mix, seems like a distinct possibility. But all this talk about Gunnar and Adley, I totally get it. I'm on board with it. But those guys, you got a long way to go until it's a mandate. And it is a mandate now with Corbin Burnes. We have not in our lifetime, probably, you could go back to Messina, I guess. We have not seen a guy like this in this uniform. And it would be, I don't know. I think it's just something you really, really have to push hard to do. Like,
there's no discount to be had, but Who else is there worth paying?
Why are you buying the
Yeah.
team if you're David Rubenstein and Mike Arrighetti and all these guys then? Why are you buying the team if you're not going to try to really be competitive to try and do this? Listen, maybe he'll take it. He'll get an offer from a Yankees or a Dodgers or whatever, go to a big market, get a ton of money, a little bit more than the Orioles or a competitive offer and, still ostensibly be a World Series contender. I could totally see him doing that. I would not begrudge him that, but you have to make a serious push to keep this guy in an Orioles uniform for the rest of his career.
He's just the type of dude that, he is a big dude. He's like a freaking truck a little bit. He's not like gigantic. He's like 6'3", 240 though. He is fine to take a beating. He knows how to manage his body. That's what everybody says about, the guy that knows how to do. Oh, Corbin Burnes. Oh, like I think of like Andy Pettit years ago, like maintenance of his body, routine, staying on the same routine is his life. And that is a person worth paying amidst all of the injuries that have gone on and things of that nature to elbows and spin rates and yada, 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 all the discourse what we talked about Buster Only about. So there's no one better. There's no one better for the Orioles to pay in baseball than Corbin Burnes, in my opinion. There's not one single player, including Gunnar Henderson, including Adley Rutschman, because you've got those guys locked up for years.
And we talk about the guys, them needing to have that kind of veteran salt and spitfire to them a little bit. Like Corbin Burnes is absolutely that guy for them right now. He's kind of like, I wouldn't call him like condescending or anything, but he's just got this kind of cocky, swaggering air to him. And it's very quiet. It's very internalized, but like he'll bust on his. I like that comment from Alex. Burnes is not fat.
He is fat. No, he's fat. That picture of him at the All-Star game, he was fat.
He looks like fucking Paulie Walnuts, and he had like slick back hair.
He's got what we call haunches. He's got that. He's got that. He's built like me. That's how I'm built.
He does. He looks like Spenny's body type, and Spenny's a big guy, but he's not out of control. Like he looks good, and like it's like that, and it's also like it's just the quiet confidence. He seems to be a good leader amongst these guys, and like a weird thing to latch onto for me was the fact that like he's getting interviewed about those red carpet outfits and he's like kind of busting on Adley a little bit. He's like, I'm not really sure what was going on there with Adley wearing the puffy shirt. He's like giving some other sort of comments on like Westberg looking good and Tony looking flashy. And then of course he's rolling up in this completely absurd like tracksuit. He looked like he walked off the set of Gamora. Like I don't know what was going on with his outfit, frankly, but I don't know, man. He's just got this quiet confidence, this swagger to him that I have not seen with an Orioles pitcher in my lifetime. And that is a tough type of dude to come across, especially at a position of pitcher that is renowned for having absolute psychos just completely across the board. I mean, and he seems like a guy who is sort of above all that. And I don't know. I am enamored with Corbin Burnes, and I don't know. I don't want to see him leave.
No, I mean, me neither. I mean, he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. And again, I want him here. I just logically thinking, like using my brain. You've seen this with Boris before, but yeah, I could not get over the tracksuit on the red carpet while Adley's wearing like the puffy shirt and Gunner's looking like $1 billion out there. And Tony's in his great suit. Did you see that the guy had to fit his suit guy was fitting Tony in the lobby of their hotel? Because like they just didn't have time to do it like anywhere else. So
just didn't have time. Yeah. God, that's funny. God, Tony, another guy. I mean, that's the extension things are getting thrown around a lot on the X app as far as Tony goes. And I like to see that too, because
resign those two guys and you're in a fantastic position. You just have to find one more pitcher over the next couple of years, like one more guy that can be a 2-3 for you. Game 2, speaking of another guy on the staff, you have another guy, Grayson Rodriguez. Looked incredible, man. Coming out of the break, younger guy. He shoved in the second half last year, gets into this one, goes 6, allows 2, 8 Ks. And Eric, you were talking about a little bit, the ability for him the second and third time through the order to start blowing the doors off of guys with fastballs. The fastball gets more FU the more times he goes through the order. Like when he starts to hit that 85 to 100 pitch count, he can just keep reaching back and it just gasses up way harder. It was really fun to watch. The one situation he got, it was stupid. It was a single that scored 2 runs. It was dumb. He walked 2 batters. But I thought that was a really impressive performance from Grayson. I mean, they've got Simeon, they've got Seager, they've got Adolis. Is not that he's, lighting the world on fire this year as opposed to in years past. They don't have some lineup to sneeze at, and he was blowing the doors off of them as they needed him to cement and win this series. So super impressed with him. The fastball has gotten comedic to the sense of like he's just throwing fat. At a certain point, it's like, oh my God, has he thrown anything else in 2 innings other than fastballs? Of course, the changeup is filthy. He's got other stuff, but I don't know. His extension, when you look at Savant and stuff, his extension's extreme. It feels like that fastball is like 102. Like he is pumping gas, elevated consistently and blowing dudes away. So super impressed with him. We saw him in the second half last year after a reset in the minors, come back and be one of the best pitchers in baseball in the second half. And I mean, guy wins games for you. He keeps it competitive. He's had 2 blow-ups this year. Happens to 98% of pitchers in baseball.
It's like a point that I want to make. Sorry to cut you off, but it's like a point that I think is important with him is like I think this was another one. Maybe I misremember. I think this was another one where it looked like a little shaky to start. We've had a couple of these from him throughout the year, and it's like, man, like is it just going to be a day where he doesn't have it? I think back to that Phillies series. I think he had one similar to that, and it's like, all right, like. Third inning rolls around, he settles in and he just starts gunning that fastball in there. He seems to, his confidence just kind of grows, and it just seems like he feeds off the energy as he continues to go. And he had another shout out to Rob Friedman getting the clip out there. He had another strikeout where he whirls around and he just yells, likely obscenities into his glove. Yeah, exactly. The spinning shout. He's just another guy who is absurdly fun to watch right now. It's not always like a perfect start, but the talent is just so evident. He's just got raw power from the mound, and it's exceptional.
Blew away Josh Smith, Wyatt Langford, and Garcia in the 6th. Retired their backup catcher Simeon and Seager in the 5th. Got a nice catch from Colton Cowser, who made a jump man Air Jordan.
Yes,
on that line out from Adelise, who was it was 105 off the bat, 360.
It was a little more dainty than that. I think it was kind of like a ballerina, like George Costanza, like jumping over the puddle. Like I don't know.
It was like a hurdler. He kind of looked like a hurdler the way he extended for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd give him the jump man. I
thought jump man, Spenny. I thought jump man when I saw it.
I thought it was
okay. Take what you want. It was an awesome play, and that was really the only one that he needed. Gave up a walk to Taveras in the 4th. Retired them in order in the 3rd. It was just that second inning. He let up 2 runs on the little double and the single and the walk or whatever it was. So awesome in that game. And great to see Corbin and Grayson come out both and shove right down the Rangers' throat in Texas. So that was sweet to watch out of those two.
Well, and also
Dean Kramer. No, go ahead.
I was going to say they both got four runs of support very early on. So again, you go out for your, you're in the 3rd inning and you're like, all right, well, we're up 4-0 or we're up 4-2 or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, that definitely helps your confidence. And Spenny, you talked about it and what I had tweeted out where it seems like he goes into the 3rd inning with 2 strikeouts. And then from like innings 4 to 7, he ends up with 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. So he gets better as the game goes on. You know who he is. He's Derrick Henry. That's what he does. Like, it's like he wears you down and like leans on you and leans on you and leans on you. And then in the 3rd and 4th quarter, it's like, okay, here's my fastball now. And you're not going to be able to touch it. And that's my comparison for this.
Give me some more of that before you go on. Give me some more Derrick Henry stuff. What's so good about him?
He's just really good. He's really good. Yeah. Here's my Jacob Calvin Meyer tweet of the week. Grayson Rodriguez started 31 games since he was recalled from AAA last July. He's posted a 3.31 ERA, which ranks 11 amongst qualified MLB starters. His 17 wins are tied for first. Who's he tied with? Screwball. So again, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball since he had his hiccups and came back and it's fascinating to see. And again, he's on that mound and it's like you have confidence in him and he has confidence in himself. The fact that they won those 2 starts, again, you have to win the Burnes and Grayson starts. You have to, even if McCann is catching, even if Hayes is in left, whatever, you have to win those. And they did both of those this series. So it's awesome for them to start out like that. Cause again, that's kind of those are the guys that the other pitchers should feed off of. And, you pass the baton from one guy to the other. You don't want to be the guy that drops that baton. Not saying, Dean gave up 3 runs or whatever on Sunday, but you would hope that you would keep.
I mean, I was going to say he gave up 3 runs on 1 swing, and like the walks are obviously an issue there, but it's just kind of tough for a guy like Dean. Like you want the quote unquote command to get better or whatever. And like they were talking about that on the broadcast too. And it's all certainly well and good. And I don't know. It just like it just feels like the story of Dean Kramer's career. It's like 1 or 2 bad things happen, and then everything just seems to unravel. And one foul fucking swoop, and it's unfortunate. But I mean, looking back at game 2, I mean, you talk about the pitchers feeding off the other pitchers. My guy Uncle Craig coming hot out of the break too. How about that?
Yeah.
You like that intentional balk?
Yeah, and it was funny because who else? Somebody did that in a game yesterday. In the what game was it? Oh, it was Pete Fairbanks in the Yankees and Rays game yesterday. There was a guy on second. It was Soto on second, and he gets up there, and again, the tying run, I guess, is at the plate, and there was 2 outs, I think, 1 out maybe. It may have been Judge. I forget who was up, but Pete Fairbanks steps on the mound, and he goes like this. Literally, he comes set, and then he goes. And he did it like 3 times, like overly, just to get the guy over.
Uncle Craig, Craig's was it was a little swaggy. It was kind of like a little bit of a Gandalf situation. Like he just kind of, you shall not pass, except you're actually making a pass. He sticks the hand out, holds it out there very dramatically, and just lets that ball drop. That was
again, it's good. It's strategy. He doesn't want a guy on second, relaying location or whatever, whatever it could be, because obviously now they're not holding down, 1, 2,
right,
the old the deuce or anything, but. Yeah, so that was funny to see, because I think people were like, "Wait, what the hell? Did he balk?" And it's like, yeah, he did on purpose, but it was
not well explained by the Rangers broadcast when I was watching that. I didn't really understand the strategy in the moment either. But did Craig say that was his reason too?
He's done that before. He did it in the playoffs, I believe, last year. Where same thing. He literally came set, took the ball, and just dropped it, and everyone was like, "Oh, he balked!" Like that's what the Yankee fans were doing against Fairbanks on Sunday.
Oh my God, a fly out! It's 270 feet. It might go out.
People Yankee fans behind home plate.
It might be in Yankee Stadium.
They jumped up and they were pointing. They were balk. Like, yeah, he fucking did it on purpose, you dorks. Like, it's like they were,
that was the one that they could recognize, and it was the most obvious one ever. So they felt so smart, but it was like,
God's like, I saw it. He flinched. It's like, yeah, he did it on purpose. Like,
yeah. Now explain the infield fly rule to me if you've been watching baseball for so long.
Yeah, right? Nothing better than those Ridgewood finance fuckboys that moved in from Connecticut or whatever, to work for daddy's PE firm that are, all of a sudden it's cool to get into baseball because I can go to a game and meet chicks. Give me a break, Yankee fans. Get out of here.
Go to Billy's and yuck it up.
Billy's is fun though. Billy's is good.
I've never been to a Yankee Stadium.
Don't go. It sucks.
I've been to Shea Stadium, but that was for a concert. That's where I got the shirt actually.
Hell yeah, brother.
I'll look at you. So Orioles take 2 out of 3. Tony on fire. Westy on fire. Gunnar, Adley making plays. Corbin, Grayson shoving. What else we got? Mullins had himself a day. Drops a fire bunt, runs it out, gets an error out of Scherzer. They knock Scherzer out in 2.2 innings and 2 outs. I think his earliest departure in 3 years, something like that. So. Doing it all, man. I mean, you can look at it and say, wow, they hit 4 home runs. They won. I'm happy. But they were coming through as singles. They were putting the ball in play. They were bunting. They were doing a lot of different things. So I think this was a complete series, the first 2 games. And, hey, James McCann has been stinky. Mateo's been stinky. They had those guys in the lineup. Gunnar probably was excited for his day off. And, Tony pulls him in to make it a real game late there. But, yeah, I think it's hard to be upset with that series in any way, shape, or form. And even with Dean, 3 runs, like you said, Jake, one hit, 1 home run, 3 runs. If you can't score 3 runs, you're going to lose, 87% of the time, I'd say.
I think Means was in the booth. Means was in the booth yesterday. I think he had some really good insight on him too. He was just talking about, yeah, man, if he can just eliminate that 1 or 2 bad throws that leads to a walk here, a walk there, and then that one swing, and it was all kind of compounded. Like I said, it was literally just a microcosm of the issues that have plagued Dean Kramer's career. If he can just make 1 less mistake per game like that, you're looking at probably a much, you're feeling a lot more confident with him as kind of your third man right now. And in a week's time, he might not even have to be the third man. That's what we're all hoping.
Who was calling the game yesterday?
Dave Johnson, and who was on the play-by-play?
Ben Wagner.
Dave Johnson was driving me bananas. Dean walked the one guy, and it was like a horrible 4th pitch, and he talked about it for 35 minutes. Boy, Fran was like, oh my God, let it go, man. He was like, and that's his issue. When he walks somebody, it's not even close. I was like, dude, that's what happens when you walk people. Do you think every walk, not every walk is like, oh, it's just off the plate. A lot of times it's like a shitty pitch, 4th, easy take. Oh my God, he talked about it for so long. I had to get that off my chest. Wouldn't stop talking about it for 2-3 innings. It was driving me nuts. It's like, dude, fucking walked one batter to this point. Relax.
So there was something up with the audio too on Masson all weekend. It was super quiet. It sounded like this, and like I had to turn up the volume, and then I'd flip over to like MLB Network, and it would be blaring, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like
they were yucking around and coming out of the break there. Some people had a little summer hangover. It felt like.
I think it's a different energy when you don't have, I think, one of Kevin or Ben in the booth usually, and Palmer's obviously a little more laid back and stoic, but like Kevin obviously very fun loving, Ben kind of just this bubbly, ebullient, like Southern personality. Like when you're missing one of those two guys, and no disrespect to anyone else who does the call, because I think the Orioles have a pretty and Masson, they have a pretty deep roster of talented people to call games. I really don't have much of an issue with any of them, but like it does, like I do think those two guys are on sort of a different level. And when I see the sort of belly aching on the X app about where's Kevin, where's Ben, it's like, well, these guys they're really busy. Like they have other jobs. It's the summer. Like Ben was vacationing for a while. Like you got to just kind of take these things as they come.
Well, that's what some guy I tweeted the Adley home run on Friday, and I said, "Oh, Adley, blah blah blah, does it again." And some guy, his first response to me was, "Would have been better if Kevin was calling it." It's like, shut up, like who cares?
I kind of like
this is the fan base that if they win the World Series and they're wearing their City Connects, people will be like, "Oh, I can't believe they're wearing their City Connects. They clinched the World Series on a Thursday."
Just the world. It's just the world we live in. It's just the world we live in. But I get caught by it on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, let me tell you something about being a Baltimore fan. You only have one half of that in your bloodstream here, Eric. And when you're a full blood like me and my friend here, you see a lot more of it. So I'm just telling you.
Orioles fans are fun. I being able to complain about things is a fun new thing for Orioles fans. I think like being able to be a little hoity-toity about your team and your expectations. Go ahead, have fun. Enjoy. They've been waiting. If you're not really a football fan, if you're just a baseball guy, especially if you're younger, maybe if you're 20 years old, the Orioles stunk for like 4 years. You were freaking 13 when they were good. And you're like, "Oh, I want to complain about this and that and this, and they need this, and they need to get 2 starting pitchers." Enjoy. It's a nice place to do it from a condescending manner of like, "Oh, now my team's good. I get to complain about cool stuff now."
It's our version of Yankees fans knowing what they're talking about.
Exactly.
If you complain, you must know better than the people in charge. You know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
By the way, I'm trying to cross check. I know Don. Shout out Don. He donated $5. We appreciate that.
Appreciate you,
Don. I think I'm trying to look up Kobe Mayo's stats as a righty, or as obviously a righty versus lefties. It looks like he's batting 280 against them. I see 21 for 75 with 1 home run. Yeah, he's 1 home run and then 21 home runs against righties, 1 against lefties. So again, I mean, 85 plate appearances against lefties, 75 at bats. He has 21 hits, where 9 walks, 280 average, 353 on base, as opposed to righty versus righty, 314, 397. His slugging is his OPS against righties is 1.087. His OPS against lefties is 806. So
this is Eric's version of going down the leaderboard of a golf tournament, just going through the split stats of a guy in AAA right now. He's little Francesa vibes. He did this and then
I was interested because I saw that Don had said had said pointed something out. So I wanted.
Yeah, no, I'm just busting on you.
I'm not gonna lie. This is my first time going into the splits of the baseball reference.
For minor leaguers,
and my favorite one that I'm seeing right here is versus younger pitchers. Kobe Mayo has 13 at bats versus older pitchers. He has 269 at bats. I'm imagining that's like 22 or younger or something. If that's the case, or like 21 or younger. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, I mean 75 at bats right against lefties there. 85 plate appearances. He is a powerful guy, big, strong guy, but he could easily go whack him against some lefties, catch a couple meatballs.
He's kind of like the late, great Hannibal Lecter.
The late, great. He has taken also 9 walks, 18 strikeouts. So it looks like his strikeout percentage is pretty high against lefties. I guess that puts him around 27% strikeout rate against lefties. It's not fantastic. Definitely want to get that down, which is weird because he's a righty. So Very weird.
Here's
weird
my
numbers there. I wouldn't read too much over that. It's a little sample size.
It's small sample size. Yeah. And again, it's like, if there's a good lefty, he's not facing him in AAA. That good lefty is in the big leagues.
And my eye test over replacement, it seems like every night he's hitting some kind of moonshot that gets blasted all over Orioles X. That that's the eye test metric for you right there. That tells you all you need to know. He should be up here soon.
100%. Again, following everything Elias has said, it sounds like he and Holiday. I would assume that Holiday. And as Spenny, I know we said Norby would be the first guy called back up. TikTok, the talk is ticking, so we don't have that much time for him to come back up. I don't think they bring him up now with the deadline a week away or whatever. But I would assume that Holiday is back up soon because we are seeing some funky video game numbers from him again. Like, his OPS is blah. His on base percentage I think was 466. And it's like this, just you gotta. They're gonna figure something out. By the way, did you see that Holiday is still, I think third on the Orioles and like outs above replacement from defense? He had a
couple little spinning plays at second that
didn't he like just start playing again too?
Yeah, this week. Yeah, last week. But again, I assume that he would be up.
Here's the thing about Alex. Here's the thing about the eye test and the eye test only showing one home run against the lefty. The good thing about the eye test is you can actually move your eyes away. So if you don't like a stat that one of these data boys are trying to peddle onto you, it's like the Tyler the Creator cyberbullying tweet. Just close your eyes. Just walk away. You don't have to worry about it. You just form your own narratives. That's what I do.
It's a great point. 74 walks, 69 strikeouts still for Jackson. So more walks and strikeouts. One of the most walked batters in the probably, I would assume he has the most walks since the start of 2023 of any major league batter. He's got to be no worse than third. He took a ridiculous amount last year. Definitely a patient approach. What does that tell you? He takes a lot of pitches, patient approach, and just needs to. I mean, that's what was so ridiculous about all it takes. Clearly, the kid is incredibly advanced in terms of his approach. Just needs to take some more MLB pitches, trim them out a little bit, process new information, and he's going to be a stud. I have more confidence than I had. I like that he came up and struggled. I love that.
Let's get a little more weight on him. I test as far as the size.
He's crazy. He's a blonde-haired, blonde-eyebrowed guy. As you and I know, Jake, you develop a little later. You develop a little tiny bit later than the dark-haired boys when you're a blondie.
There's something to that. I wasn't fully filled out until I was like 22. So we might have some time to wait there, and that concerns me.
He's starting to get, and you know me, I check the workouts. If you follow Jumbo Set, I'm into the workouts. Way too strong for his size and really getting ripped to the gills. So it's coming. It's going to be coming in droves. Once he gets a little bit more natural androgen, those shoulders are going to fill out nice and quick, those androgen receptors. So
and make sure it's natural too.
He can take an 80-game suspension. I don't care. Okay. Juice up the boys.
Hit it high, let it fly. Juice them up.
Nick Boyle, juice them up.
That was actually a really smart thing that he did. People don't talk about that enough. He essentially gave himself a redshirt year, took some steroids, took the hit, fell on a sword.
Turned into a freaking monster. Turned into Thanos as a blocker. So
yeah, that weight doesn't go away.
Jackson, if he gets roided out, I'm not terribly mad. He might be if he's all roided out.
I feel like his dad is definitely on some kind of TRT solution because he is still looking very good these days for a dude in his 40s. Let's get that going through the holiday family. I want to see
red-blooded Oklahoman.
Yeah, I want Ethan to be like a muscle hamster when he comes up. Eric is totally checked out.
Sorry, no, I'm
Florida Marlins. Florida Marlins. Orioles playing the Marlins tomorrow.
I have very few memories of the Orioles playing the Marlins. I do this with the NFL a lot. Like thinking of have you ever seen the Chiefs play at the Seahawks? Like in your mind, can you picture that? I can't.
No,
I can't. This is a weird matchup. Like I love doing this with
I
NFL.
think I can because that might have been, maybe it wasn't Camden. I remember the Miguel Cabrera intentional walk debacle. Yep. I think that was in Florida.
No, that was in Baltimore.
It was in Camden. Okay. Yeah, I have no memories of the Marlins then.
And then when the Marlins came here for COVID in 2020, they had like 8 or 9 guys go on the COVID IL list the day of the game, and it was like, what are they gonna do? Because I remember it was Mo's funeral, and Trey and I were in the funeral parking lot talking about like the game and like what's going to happen and all this stuff. And like literally my phone is blowing up and it was like, this guy's out for COVID. This guy's out for COVID. This guy's out for COVID.
Didn't Jazz Chisholm like fuck them up once, like relatively recently? Could I be wrong on that?
I don't know.
I don't know where that
remember
was.
them. I know they played a year later because Trey hit a home run against the Marlins, and when it was here, and it was on the anniversary of Mo's death because his mom Sanzi was in the stands and all that. I remember that.
Was that the inside the Parker?
I don't remember a Jazz Chisholm inside the Parker against.
No, not like Trey. Yeah, I was thinking Trey.
Oh no. That was the Rays.
Rays. Okay.
But then in 2015, Brian Mattis got ejected because it was a game at night. Martin Prado hit a walk-off later that night, but Mattis had sunscreen on his arm. It was like 9 o'clock at night. The roof is closed.
Yeah, I remember.
They tossed him for having a substance.
I remember that. Yeah, I actually had a Brian Mattis jersey back in the day. I remember being devastated when that happened. How could my favorite player just cheat?
As you should. So again, this is a team. These are teams that obviously you don't see much of. Obviously, once a year you do. But like I don't remember them coming to Baltimore last year. I have zero recollection of that. But
I think your boy, the greatest shortstop of all time might be scared to come back and face his old rival.
I would say the Marlins are the worst team in baseball, and after the Orioles got sussed a little bit by the A's, they won that series barely. But go put a dagger in these dudes coming out of the break. I feel like the break is where you see the crappy teams really start to not care. And they know guys are leaving, and like some of the younger guys will play. I mean, Jazz Chisholm, go ahead and make 3 errors. Like, go ahead and just be a bonehead.
He did get hit on the hand tonight, so again, he may not finish the series there because he's trade rumors all around. He may be a Yankee. Right. I don't know how Yankee fans would like deal with his extracurriculars.
Perfectly. Fits absolutely perfectly.
We'd have to start wearing that hat a little straighter, young man, because we do things differently here. We're much better than everyone else. He's got some Dontrell Willis vibes with the way he rocks that dome sometimes. I'm a fan.
Little swag to it. Marlins. Anything else? Let's get out of here, fellas.
Somebody had tweeted and they said this has to be a sweep. You have to sweep these guys. It's like you can't say that about any. There's no series where it's you have.
I agree with that guy. Arditti is wrong. Here's why.
Yeah. Oh, Spenny sounds off on RDT's preposterous take about this.
I agree with that guy. Stick these dudes into the earth. Absolutely nail them, crush them, pulverize them. I want to see the bullpen light these dudes up. I want to see freaking CNL Perez throwing wicked hot sliders, lighting them up. Cano, go dominate. I want to see
bombs.
I want bombs. I want bombs. I want there to be like a 14 hit game out of the Orioles in this one.
We can end out on this one, but the Cano stare after he struck the dude out on Saturday when the batter was gone, Adley was gone, it was just the umpire. That cracked me up so goddamn much. And he had just given up 2 runs.
Yeah,
like,
he's
it's not like he was like struck out the side on 90.
Those were inherited. Doesn't count.
I know, but still, it's like, dude, it's
the
irrational. You need that. Some people need that.
Command goes away. Swag lasts forever.
Put that on.
I think we can end it on that.
Put that on a t-shirt. I got a conference championship to win, boys.
All right. Well, best of luck with your Oregon State Beavers. We know you're a big fan of Beavers, obviously, so that's great. Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for backing me up. I was having some technical difficulties out here with the Wi-Fi. I got to get that figured out. Thank you everyone for listening and hanging in here. A nice 1,500 people or so hanging with us in the live chat as we speak. Spenny gets dipped out. I'm sure there's some sort of Love Island.
Yeah, Fred was like tapping him on the shoulder, being like, he's Love Island to watch.
Yeah, we gotta go watch Maya Jama and Love Island. So shout out to them for doing that. Thanks to everyone for hanging in here for our series recap. We'll be back at the end of this coming series against the Marlins. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave us a like, a comment on all our videos. Start pumping that algorithm out. Follow us on social media as well. It looks like Spenny has rejoined here. I'm not sure. I guess he doesn't have any Bravo TV to go watch. No Andy Cohen, things of that nature. Okay, he's giving me the wrap-up signal now. Find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me at Jake Louque. That's Louque. Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4, as he's given some sort of impassioned defense against us and him to the franchise there, and he's now punching the camera. Find Eric at EDITTI22, Ryan at Barstool Banks, Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. And wow, what an insane shot if you're watching on YouTube that we're closing this out on. We apologize to any viewers that have been caught up in this situation. And we'll talk to you guys again very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.